This time on Kawaii-Fi Radio, we introduce Emma, Kyle's better half. Emma and I live in the same place. We lament Tuxedo Mask's ineffectiveness.
Tuxedo Mask
Does
didn't do
nothing.
anything. He literally throws a rose and it's like, "Trola," and then runs away.
And we talk about some of the problems in Sailor Moon. Never mind like relationships with age gaps or anything like that.
It was really
honestly.
uncomfortable.
Incredibly problematic.
She has a crush on her own father.
And she acknowledges that as well.
Yeah.
It's over 9,000!
Configure the language logic interface for Japanese.
Kawaii-Fi.
Kawaii-Fi.
Konnichiwa and welcome. You're tuned into Kawaii-Fi Radio, the podcast we dive into the world of anime and manga every fortnight. I'm your host Kyle, and joining me are Fafa, and I've dragged her kicking and screaming into the studio today, Emma!
Yay, it's finally me.
It's finally happened.
It's your turn.
Oh, hisashiburi.
So, Emma and I live in the same place. Yeah, she's my better half, and Emma and I. She knows it's true. Emma.
That's why I didn't. Yeah.
That's why you didn't disagree with it. You just went along with it.
Yeah,
Just like, yes, this is correct.
You're like, this is about right. I believe this is true. Yes. So you're my the tuxedo mask to my Sailor Moon.
Oh, excuse me. What? I'd rather be your, Silver Crystal, because if you go back and watch them, Tuxedo Mask
Does
didn't do
nothing.
anything. He literally throws a rose that penetrates concrete and it's like, "Trola," and then runs away.
It's really funny because I come to your place today and the house smells like roses. Is this like...
Well, we were talking about this in the little bit that's going on Patreon. That I wouldn't say I picked up the roses to deliver to Emma after she fixed some clothes for my
I was
parents.
going to say, what did you do, Kyle?
No.
I literally just did some sewing for his parents,
that's nice.
and his dad was like, "You have to get her flowers to say thank you." And
So wait, when he walked through the door and he had flowers, like, wait, what did you do?
no, I was like, "Oh wow, he got me flowers." Oh, what? They're from your dad? Oh,
This is awkward.
word.
But Emma, you're joining us today because we're talking about a topic which you love, and we'll get into that in a little bit. But we have to ask, as we do to everyone who joins the podcast, what got you into anime?
Oh boy. Well, first of all, I have brothers.
Ah.
Okay?
Oh, no.
I have two brothers, but mainly, as most proud Australians born in the 90s, I grew up watching Cheese TV.
Yeah.
Have you guys talked about that?
We
Of
have
course,
mentioned
yeah.
Cheese TV, and we are hoping
yeah.
one day to
my
get
God.
Jade and Ryan onto the barrack.
I also credit them with the fact that I'm a morning person now as well, because, they started at like 6 a.m. and I needed
True.
all that sweet, sweet anime goodness.
Hey, not what the boys used to say when they used to watch aerobic odd style in the morning, was it?
Nope.
Oh,
Yeah, now for those of our listeners in the States and elsewhere who did not grow up in Australia, our morning cartoon programs in the late 90s and early 2000s started at 6 a.m, but before that, from 5:30 for that first hour, there was a program called Aerobics Oz Style. It was kind of
Google it. My God, Google it.
It's still on YouTube.
It's still on
Yeah.
YouTube.
There.
It's the precursor to modern day yoga programming, and the
Wow.
the fashions.
Where's that sound effect that you go, wow?
Oh well, no, not that one.
Not that one.
No, hang on. Deep wow.
There we go.
Yeah. Aerobics Oz style.
But
Yeah.
you're not wrong.
boy.
But it's funny that you're a morning person and I'm not, despite also growing up.
Is it really that funny?
It's hilarious.
Not when
really.
I'm up at like 12 o'clock at night hating you. 'Cause
Yeah, because sometimes I'm like, I normally go to bed about midnight now these days. And then
No.
I'm one or twice I might still be on stuff. Carl's like, are you on right now? I'm like, do I respond to this or should I just pretend I'm not? But
Do not respond.
Do not respond. No, it's it's normally a case that either A, I'm finishing an editing project, or B, I'm doing something that has a deadline, or C, I just get completely sidetracked down the tunnel that is YouTube.
Yeah.
Or you buy a new game like Mass Effect and play it until 4 a.m.
My goodness.
Look.
Hey, I've been down that road though.
Look,
So I can't talk.
Yeah, but
Minecraft, let's go.
I did just
once.
download Slime Rancher, and I was supposed to go to my friend's house to, socialize and be a real human being, but I decided no. I'm staying home.
Now, on the note of YouTube, we do have to mention the first YouTube video is now live, and our live show lands this coming Friday.
I was wondering that.
Yeah, I've been so busy the last fortnight, so apologies for the delay on that, but it will land on Kawaii Fridays.
A Kawaii Friday.
Yes.
Kawaii Friday.
And Emma's sitting there going, I'm sick of hearing you say it.
I was too last time when I looked at Kenny, it's like, do you realize what he just said just now? Kawaii Friday. When did this come about?
I wish I could have taken a photo of the exact moment that you thought of that.
Yeah.
And you telling me for the first time. Just the kind of face. You're just
Big
like,
goofy.
Hey.
All right. Well, look, let's move on from my goofy face, because you can see that on YouTube plenty enough. We this episode are talking about a show that I believe really kind of cemented a lot of ideas and a lot of people from our generation.
Yes.
It is, of course, Sailor Moon. It's
by moonlight.
It's on the agenda, and with the new Eternal films out in the wild, we have to ask, are they any good?
Well, we'll get into that.
We'll get into that in this episode when we get to it. No spoilers.
We're not allowed spoilers.
We don't do spoilers. That's not something we do. Now, if you are enjoying what you've heard so far, and hooray, consider hitting that subscribe button and join the Kawaii-Fi community. We also release monthly videos on YouTube as well. So if you're in a podcasting app, head over to the YouTube channel. The links are in the episode description. And if you do want to support the channel, we also have a Patreon with additional content there, but much more on that later. There's still plenty to talk about this episode, but first, we need to have a talk about what we've been watching.
I have no idea how old I am or where I came from. Daddy! Ohio!
Hey, guys! I gotta go!
I have to know! Hooray! I did the thing!
Oni-chan, nani wo miru?
What we're watching.
Alrighty, and as we like to do whenever we have a guest on the show, Emma, you get to take off the batting here.
I get to bat.
Yes. What are you watching?
Oh.
Which, of course, means what is Kyle also watching on the side?
Not just Emma, it's Carl as well.
It's me as well.
This is actually one that Kyle and I are watching together, and it is Dragon Goes House Hunting.
Just on that note, actually, do you watch a lot of anime together, or is it like...
Well, the thing is, I'm very far behind.
Yeah.
Because I wasn't a weeb my entire life. I did take a sabbatical, if you will.
As we all did, I think.
A weebing sabbatical.
Yes, where I tried to, be a real human in the world.
Me too.
Be normal and get friends.
Yeah.
And then I decided, I hate these people.
Let's go back to my weeb ways.
I want stars and, that
shiny
bouquet
things.
effect
Yeah.
that they have.
Well,
Dragon.
with the right lens over your eyes, it could work.
The
world is so magical. It's bouquet.
Beautiful.
Never mind
Get
that I can't
rose tinted
see.
glasses, just bouquet effect glasses. Dragon Goes House. Man, Dragon Goes House Hunting. I love it. It's the best. It's so wholesome. It's low stakes.
It is super low stakes.
So relaxing, but it's just look.
So
if you're not watching it,
I'm not, but
do it.
you guys have
It's available on
convinced me.
ANIMELAB.
Yeah.
That's how we're watching it now.
So I actually mentioned this in the video we put out last week, and Dragon Goes House Hunting, I think, is one of the sleeper hits of this season. It's not going to be, competing with the likes of Jujutsu Kaisen or One Piece or anything like that. It's not a big shonen title. This is super slice of life, but it's an adventure slice of life story, meaning the narrative does progress. You're not going to stay in the same place every episode. Something always happens.
I feel like they've really hit that sweet spot with millennials these days, actually, because it's
Because we
kind
can't
of
afford houses.
Yeah, I was just going to say.
it's house hunting.
Yeah.
it's kind of a fantasy world that's a video game.
Yeah.
And it's just a feel-good show.
Yeah.
So for some reason, it just really resonates with me, and I love it so much. And Letty, who is the main character, and his sorcerer, elf companion, who
Real
also
estate agent.
happens to be like the evil Dark Lord via the lottery. Diaria-sama.
So basically, Letty, our dragon, is kicked out of his house by his family because he let their egg get stolen.
It's not dragon enough.
No.
So he's been disowned by his family.
Yeah.
He then goes house hunting, doesn't have much success, and runs into Diria, who hands him his business card and says, "Yes, I'm a medieval
Real estate agent
for the fantasy world." And he's like, "What does this say at the bottom, Demon Lord?" Never mind that.
Yeah.
It's just a title.
Yeah, it's just a title. It's fine.
Amazing.
But yeah, it's really well done,
Yeah.
and you. Well, if you watch the opening, you do see there are multiple characters who do eventually get involved.
What an opening as well. I don't think we've ever skipped it.
No, we haven't.
We've never skipped
We've
it.
never
The
skipped
song
it.
is such a banger. It's not, like real punchy like a lot of the, action animes or whatever. It's just real cute. The opening is like real.
Very Celtic vibe.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
I
It's got
like
the
it.
pan flutes in there or something. It's just like, yeah. My ancestors are like, ooh.
I wonder what it is about, those dragon anime shows, like Maid Dragon.
Yeah,
Yes.
Miss Kobayashi's Dragon
Yeah,
Maid, which
yeah,
second
yeah.
season comes out next
Very
month.
soon.
Yeah.
But it's very wholesome shows. Like, they're very comfy, wholesome.
Oh, man.
Mm.
I love how it's basically a fantasy game,
Yeah.
but from the creature's point of view.
Yeah.
So
All the heroes are technically the villains.
okay.
They're massive jerks. They come in and wreck people's home. They die.
Yeah.
They resurrect, and they go, "Man, that sucked. Let's do it again."
they're all linked from Zelda. You go into a house, you smash pots, you steal their stuff, and you leave.
Amazing.
That's what they do.
Mm-hmm.
And it's amazing. And all the monsters are like, we are trying to find real estate so they can't come and do that to our houses.
It's like, wow, did you have a look at this? This house has been rated number 1 in the top dungeons to visit by the local. It's like, no, I
Ever
don't
since our
want
house
that.
featured in a popular,
Like Dungeon Raiders magazine or something. It's like, no,
we had no peace.
But look, Dragon Goes House Hunting is really good fun. I'm surprised that we still haven't met the girl who appears in the opening sequence.
From what I'm
from
gathering,
10
there's like,
episodes.
10 episodes at the moment? So,
Yeah. We haven't watched episode 10 yet. That lands this weekend, I believe. And I suspect now will be the time that she's introduced. And
You said that for the last 2 episodes.
I have.
It's very slow moving in that regard.
Yeah, it
because you
is.
see all of the characters that you're going to be introduced to throughout the series in the opening. So there's like a black unicorn guy with like a weird
star.
What's a star? What's it called?
Oh, like a pentagram type.
Pentagram. He's got a pentagram on his forehead, and he doesn't get introduced until like episode 8. I
Yeah.
think.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And he's such a bro.
Oh, it's great.
Bro.
Yeah, he's
all the
great.
characters in it are great, and the best thing about it is
Yeah.
because it's slice of life at its core, everything's low stakes. You know no one's going to die. You know no one's going to get hurt or brutally injured, or there's going to everything will be all right.
Yeah.
Mm.
Okay.
One of my pet peeves in a lot of animes is when bad guys are just, like jerks for no reason.
Yeah.
Or there's communication issues that then feed the storyline.
Yeah.
This doesn't have it.
Okay.
It's just very straightforward.
I mean, there is communications between Diria and Letty, but that's because Diria's trying to get Letty to, acknowledge
up.
the world and
Yeah.
grow up with it. But yeah, look, definitely worth checking out, I
Yeah.
reckon. If you're looking for something chill, it's great to put on the background and just kind of laugh at. And
Well,
the
now
dub's
it's got
out
a dub,
now.
yeah. There we go.
Yeah,
So-
especially in winter, grab yourself a blanket, grab yourself a hot
Nice.
drink, and just sit on the couch and binge this and have a great
Oh,
time.
I
So
like
for our
that
listeners
idea.
in South
Oh, yeah.
America and Australia, of course, and Oceania and so on, and Africa, because we have listeners in all of these countries, it turns out, I know. Yeah, you guys are in line with us because it's winter in our sections.
Oh,
but,
y'all Southern Hemisphere
yeah.
folk. Say hey,
However, everyone in the Northern Hemisphere, it's probably a bit warm for you to do this, so
Right.
maybe chilling on the patio with a nice iced tea or something.
Iced tea.
I don't
Wait.
know.
Do you think they have a TV on their patio?
No, I'm expecting them to watch it on their iPad or something.
Oh.
Yeah.
Some do.
A lot of, well, look, it's kind of funny because if you have a look at the statistics that Funimation and Crunchyroll list, more than 50% of their people consuming their footage are doing on mobile devices, which is crazy. I think it ended up being like 55% mobile, 20% computer, and the rest was computer and various other integrations, TVs and other integrations.
I wouldn't be able to do that because I couldn't read the subtitles.
Yeah, I know.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I wouldn't be able to read it that small. It'd hurt my eyes.
Oh, fair.
Speaking of which, though, the subtitle tracks.
The script they've used for the subtitles?
Yeah, the scripting is so good.
That's good.
All right. Now, let's stop hamming about Dragon Goes House Hunting. Fafa.
Hello.
You've been watching something with something.
I've been watching Hunter x Hunter. Now, I watched this one... story time. Back in, like America has Toonami blocks and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And I craved the Toonami blocks, because they used to have great programming.
They did.
Now, they used to be, I'm not going to, admit it, but like they used to have someone actually stream the Toonami block. And
what, from the States?
From the States. So they used to have it like, they used to run it from like 8 to like 4 a.m. But for us, that's like during the daytime. So it's like perfect Sunday night. Sunday viewing
watching,
for me.
Yeah.
So one of the shows that came out a couple of years ago was Hunter x Hunter. And the problem was no streaming site in Australia was going to take it on. It was on Crunchyroll, but we had no dub access to it either. No. So the only way you could watch Hunter x Hunter...
Because it was a funny dub, wasn't it?
No, Viz.
Oh, it was a Viz Media dub.
It was a Viz Media dub, so it made it even harder. And because Viz is very hard to get their dubs.
See, Viz were independent for a long time, and especially when this was coming out. They're now owned by Crunchyroll for the most part.
And it makes it a little bit easier.
But it's still for international distribution
very
rights
hard.
Because Viz have their distribution rights based on the region where they're centered. It's difficult to get hold of content.
Oh,
yeah.
Well, that's a pain in the bum.
And
save money.
Obviously getting the DVDs, Blu-rays at that point in time was extremely hard. There had to be like very...
Do you remember when like DVDs were like region locked and that was
Blu-rays are still region locked.
That's
but instead of like 10 regions, is 3.
Yeah.
2 technically.
I had to go because I wanted to order the Blu-rays, and there was a special distributor in Melbourne that was actually doing the Hunter x Hunter. I managed to get the first 3 sets, but because there were American versions, I had to buy another Blu-ray. Multi-region free one. It was a lot of money I spent just to watch this series, but
so is it good?
And it's so. I'm glad I've decided.
No, it's trash.
I'm really glad I decided to speak about this particular show because the person who wrote the manga for Hunter x Hunter is actually married to the person who wrote Sailor Moon.
I didn't know
And
that.
the person who wrote Sailor Moon actually worked on the Hunter x Hunter manga for some time as well. So it's a very good little tie-in, and you can see it.
X-Files.
Hunter
What do I do for this?
Now, this is the 2011 version, not the original one that came out in the early
like
2000s and late 90s. Can't recall. It wasn't very good because, unfortunately, with Hunter x Hunter, it did go on hiatus as well. So it never really finished, and that's obviously where the 2011 one just literally stopped when the manga stopped. But what is really interesting about Hunter x Hunter, it is a Shonen Jump show, but it's very dark.
It is. It's a lot darker than, say,
dark.
Wait, I don't actually know anything about Hunter x Hunter. What's it about?
So basically it's about a boy called Gon who wants to be like his father. His father pretty much abandoned him to his relatives and things like that.
Yep, that's pretty on brand for anime.
Very much on brand, typical.
Don't our parents even care where we are?
In Shonen Jump, you don't have any parents.
Obviously, he learnt that his father was alive still because he had, in the manga, he always imagined like his parents were dead and stuff like that, but actually he's the hunter, one of the most famous hunters in the world, basically. So Gon just basically wanted to become his dad. I wanted to find out more about his father. And so he decided the first arc, which is what I'm currently rewatching again, is him wanting to take the hunter exam. And that's when we get to meet the call for friends and things like that. And what is really unique about the show, it starts off looking very bubbly and stuff like that, but it just hits and it gets dark and really dark.
I love those ones that just slap you right in the face.
Right?
And you're like, you thought you were having a nice time.
Guess what? You're not.
You're not.
But yeah, it's just the dub is what really sells this show for me. It's done very well, and that's what I really enjoyed with the Toonami watching as well. I was like, oh my God, I can't wait for next week to watch, the next part of it. So I'm really happy now that we have the access to the whole dub as well, which we never did. and it's all on streaming. So that's why I'm kind of rewatching it again because I want to watch it with the dub.
I was going to say, because Funimation have the full back catalogue of it now,
Exactly.
which is great.
And the opening is so good.
Yeah.
So good. It's the most catchy, uplifting, and powerful opening you'll ever hear. So if you get a chance, go and look it up. Go and watch that opening. It'll just pump you up for the rest of the show.
Sounds good. Now, we're going to talk about what I'm going to talk about, and it deserves a...
Oh, why?
I'm watching Farewell, My Dear Kramer, which has incredibly awkward animation.
Oh.
So weird.
This is a sports anime. And it's about sports ball. It's about soccer.
Count me out.
Now, it's about girls' soccer.
Again.
Again, count me out. But basically, Farewell, My Dear Kramer is a soccer series focusing on a group of sort of, as they always are, a misfit group of girls.
Of course.
Who all end up at the same
girls.
school and joining a football team and desire to make it to the national competition and do well. Now, the franchise itself's manga is apparently incredibly well received. And there's a lot to like about the show. It's just the animation's trash.
It's just so weird.
I've mentioned this before. They do, like, we've seen it in other shows, and I'll be putting this up on social media and so on. But basically, other shows will, if someone's looking through like a thing and they need to phase it out, so say it's like a fence they're looking through, they'll leave a lot of room so it doesn't look like their head's stuck in it.
Also, the fence doesn't just cover their face. Yeah.
Just so they can see them.
Yeah.
Kramer does not do this. They cut that line off exactly where the face is, so it looks like their face is actually being shoved through fencing, for instance. There's also its art style has improved over the course of the season, but those first 3 episodes are shocking because it's an anime for starters that has lips for characters. And we know that depending on the art style, lips do not work, dependent on how they draw it.
Yeah, we've been watching Dr. Stone as well, and the lips in that are kind of weird.
See, big octopus lips.
Oh, but that's Dr. Stone.
That's Dr. Stone, and that's for some of their characters.
I feel like that's denoting foreigners.
Yeah.
Like,
True,
how do you know that
actually.
they're foreign? They have big old lips.
Yeah.
Actually, fair call.
Except not in this because they're all well. To be honest, actually, the girl who has the least distracting lips is the foreigner. So she calls herself Elizabeth, and she's dead fancy and does the
Oh.
I'm sorry, but when you describe them as least distracting, I'm not okay with that.
I know.
I didn't realize football in particular is very big in Japan. I mean,
soccer, football, however you want to phrase it, the round ball is it's become a lot more popular over their sport as far as like the people attending it and the amount of sports, the amount of people who are actually interested in going into that field, and we've seen that in like the Premier League now. There's a lot of Japanese soccer players, and there has been Man United in particular has had about 3 or 4 really notable, fantastic Japanese soccer players join their team over the past 20 years, and they've been phenomenal, and that's really driven the interest in Japan for these young kids who would otherwise been playing baseball or
baseball
rugby
being the biggest one,
something else.
Baseball's huge.
Baseball's
over there.
huge over there.
Yeah.
Or
rugby's surprisingly big.
Rugby's big
I'm
as well.
surprised about that one actually.
Yeah. I always root for them in the World Cup.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah. Oh, they're always good
so
fun.
Good.
They're good fun.
It's so fun.
But yeah, like I was quite surprised. So I started doing a bit of research into it, and so the title of this, and I got to thank some of the people on Mal because I asked the question and they answered before the show came out. Dear Kramer is in relation to a guy whose surname was Kramer. I think it was like Dietmar Kramer or something like that. And he was brought in from Europe to Japan in the 60s to bring Japan up to scratch. And they ended up like knocking Argentina out, where they hadn't done anything before. I think it was like 1969, 1972 or something like that.
I smell a movie and
Well, there have been movies, like live action Japanese films about it. Not obviously they didn't look anything like Shaolin Soccer or anything like that.
Well,
I mean, admittedly, that's more Mandarin theater.
Yeah.
But they were really good stories to tell. And this is about kind of trying to do the same thing for women's football in Japan. And it's look, the characters are all really interesting, the interactions are really funny, it's just the animation isn't good enough for this story. It should be amazing, but the guys in charge of it, and I mentioned this at the beginning of the season, they're not good enough for it.
Honestly,
it's just a real turn off, hey.
That happened with Welcome to the Ballroom as well. That was an anime that came out a couple of years ago.
Yeah.
I love that story. I love the characters, everything about the voice actors, amazing. the animation was absolute garbage.
See, Lytton Films are the ones who are behind this, and I've mentioned Lytton are not great before, but here's the thing. So that they were, if you watched any of Initial D, you'd be familiar with Lytton Films. Arslan Senki, they were quite good at that. They've got a lot of interesting stuff. They did Cells at Work Black, for instance, as well.
Okay.
Yeah, so that we know
Love
they
that
can
show.
do good quality stuff, but they just haven't. They really have not. They're doing Tokyo Revengers as well this season.
But
Tokyo
you say
Revengers is good.
The animation style is true to the...
The art style is very true to the manga's art style, and the guy who's involved in it was involved in Your Lie in April, and a couple of others, all which have kind of a unique look to their characters' faces and lips, and he, really wants to draw it, and that's the way it's been done. So fair enough.
It just doesn't translate very well to animation.
It doesn't, and it's a shame because it could have been better. And there's a film that's just landed on Crunchyroll as well, which is Sayonara Watashi no Krama movie First Touch, which is a prequel series. Well, a prequel film, I should say, to this. There's also like a mini anime side thing, and I think they've given themselves too much work. So, no.
You just mentioned Tokyo Revengers, actually. I started watching that as well because you guys were talking about it.
Aaron mentioned it,
my
yeah.
word,
What is it?
so
I don't know.
good.
Tokyo Revengers is the one I mentioned to you, where it's a time travel anime, where a guy in his later stage in life...
I was like, you have to be way more
I
specific.
know, I mentioned a lot of
than
time
that.
travel anime.
Like Erased, but a little bit better.
And you haven't watched Erased yet, have you?
Oh.
No.
Oh, no,
But you know the principle.
Yeah, I've seen... It's on my to-watch list. The live action is on my to-watch list.
The
Yeah,
live
but
action's better than in the...
really good.
Really?
Yes.
Yeah. But yeah, basically, this guy, he's gone through life and been not very, productive, and then the only girl he loved from high school, he discovers, died. So he then somehow manages to go back in time, retaining his memories, as we see in Erased as well, and manages to then start affecting the timeline. However, he's able to bounce back and forwards, so he can go back, change something, and go forward to see the result.
Oh, no.
Butterfly effect, basically.
Yeah.
Yeah. So as you can imagine, it's going to get very messy,
Yep.
and every episode feels like a climactic crescendo.
Oh, honestly.
So it's worth checking out.
Yes.
Yeah, and it's been well talked about. So look, that's what we've been watching anyway. What have you been watching this fortnight? Let us know in the comments section over on social media or on our YouTube channel.
Tell me what to watch. Sometimes I'm get very stalemate on what I want to watch. I'd like some recommendations, to be honest.
Yeah, me too. And not just new stuff either.
No,
because
old stuff.
I'm pretty far out of the game when
It's
it
like,
comes
what,
to...
what might Emma have not seen if she hadn't watched from,
There we
say,
go.
2012?
Even later, maybe?
Yeah, I wasn't watching while I was in uni. So
And you were learning Japanese.
Isn't that ironic?
Say 2012 till 2018.
Are you fluent? Not
yeah.
really, no.
She's getting there.
I spent 3 years learning at university. It was really hard in the final lesson, in the final year.
Yeah,
And so I had to drop out because I just couldn't keep up.
yeah.
And in my second year, I had to do an intermediate course and a catch-up course.
Oh
so
my
I
goodness.
had, I think it was 8 classes of Japanese a week.
Oh.
So I started reading English words as Japanese.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so I saw I remember seeing a big sign that was talking about kites for some reason. I was like, Kite, why is Kite Emma? English!
Oh, no. Now on that
Oh,
bombshell,
no.
let's get on to what we're actually talking about this episode.
Kawaii-Fi Radio.
I think I watched that as a kid.
Oh yeah, I remember that.
Back Catalogue.
Now, unsurprisingly, we're going to be talking about fighting evil by moonlight and winning love by daylight and never running for a real fight. She's the one named Sailor Moon.
Yes. Yes. Except for the fact that she always runs from fights.
Yes,
Yes.
we will get to that. I have a whole section to discuss that adaptation of the song. But Sailor Moon, many of you will have known it, and if you haven't heard of Sailor Moon, you must be quite young indeed, because this is a show that took just
Oh my god!
everywhere
took over
by storm.
everything.
Global phenomenon.
It went absolutely ballistic. And that's not to say it's a bad thing if you're young. You're about to discover a hidden gem from the past. Something you can say, oh, my anime grandparents told me about this in whispers from the old days before the internet.
It's like, Grandma, your stories are weird. Girl with a crescent moon on her head.
She's a weird girl. Now, I think all three of us can say Sailor Moon was very formative for us in introducing us to
100%.
anime.
100%, yeah.
She has so much to do with my current aesthetic.
She does. She really does.
Oh boy.
Actually, we just ordered like some lanyards for you, which are Sailor Moon branded
Yes.
lanyards.
I have like moon lamps. I have cushion covers because I'm an adult now, and with adult money,
Yeah, you can do all this stuff.
That's
can
why we
buy-
have a moon cushion?
Yes.
Oh, that's why.
You know what? I'm fine with that.
Yeah,
and this
you
is
go.
why I'm so obsessed with twinkly lights.
This
Yeah.
explains a lot. All right, now for those who are not aware of Sailor Moon is a shoujo magical girl series,
Yes.
but unlike a lot of what we consider traditional magical girl series these days, this one really had a very broad appeal.
Yes.
Now, Usagi, we're going to go with her Japanese name.
Of
Yes.
course.
Usagi Tsukino.
Tsukino.
Now, should it be Tsukino Usagi? Because her first name's Usagi.
Yes,
but-
but everyone calls her Asagi.
Or Yusa.
There's very few characters in the show that aren't familiar enough with her to call her Tsukino.
Yeah.
So when I
Except
was
for like the teacher, and that's like one episode.
so I started watching it from the beginning again,
Yeah.
and in Sailor Moon R at one point, one of the characters like Tsukino. I was like, who's that? All right.
Oh yeah, that's her
That's her
surname.
last
Yeah,
name.
actually, come to think about it, this was that show that actually kind of just went straight to the first name
Yes.
basis,
Yeah,
really. Yeah,
yeah,
you
it did.
Good
Well,
point.
especially in the dubs, whereas otherwise
Yeah.
it was a lot of pet names and nicknames.
I mean, she was known as Bunny for a long period of time too, wasn't she?
Bunny.
On the original dub, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh,
the
was
the
she?
one which is not available anymore.
The best dub, in my opinion. But
Really? Was that the Canadian
look,
dub?
Yes, it was. Look, for me, that was one of the most iconic dubs because it formulated, like, that's what got me into anime.
That's the one that was by the Canadian company Deke.
Deke and then Clover.
Yeah, Cloverfield. Not Cloverfield, that's a monster movie.
Clover Way.
Clover Way,
Yes.
yeah. We always get them mixed with Cloverworks.
That's why I always.
yeah.
Oh, I wonder why.
I know. I don't think Clover Way is even around anymore. So
I mean, they might be
well,
still
or
around,
at least
but
like the branding isn't around. They've rebranded
no,
as
it's
something
probably
else.
something else.
Well,
Yeah.
Deke was the one that Cheese TV aired.
Yes.
Yeah.
So watching it as a child, it was all very safe
Yeah.
and very wholesome.
Then when it got to Cartoon Network, that's when they showed the Clover Way version, which is yes.
Yeah, yeah.
And that one's actually was it Clover Way or ADV?
No, Clover Way.
Was Clover Way?
Clover Way. Yeah.
But yeah, I know ADV had the distribution rights. That's why I'm getting confused because
Yeah, there
they
you
did
go.
like other dubs and stuff.
Mm.
But look, if you haven't seen it, Sailor Moon is a story about Usagi, an average student and crybaby klutz who constantly scores low on her tests. Unexpectedly, her humdrum life is turned upside down. And that's how she became the Prince of the Moon. No, when she saves
Prince
the cat,
of the Moon.
Princess.
the Fresh Prince of the Moon.
Okay.
When she saves the cat with a crescent moon on its head from danger, the cat named Luna later reveals that their meeting was not an accident. Usagi is destined to become Sailor Moon.
Okay, I love this about the first episode. Luna has a band-aid on her head. Like
Yeah.
A
it's
cat with a band-aid.
Didn't the kids that were bullying her put it on her?
Oh, it's
Yeah.
okay. I never picked that up for some
Yeah,
reason.
It depends on the
so-
dub. The Deke version doesn't have that because any form of conflict, Deke and 4Kids and several of the other brands that were doing dubs
Whoa,
removed.
Yeah.
So
okay.
if you have a look at the new dub that was done for the original Yu-Gi-Oh, there's a lot of episodes in there that we never got in the Deke
I
dub.
see.
Inter-character conflicts were bad because they wanted to promote positive interactions between
Oh,
characters.
Pokemon is also rife with
Rife
that.
with it.
Oh yeah, true.
Yeah, yeah.
They've in Pokemon there have been cases where they've taken 3 episodes and combined them all into a single
No
episode.
way.
Yeah.
Because there was too much contentious content. And we've got about 6
Yeah.
episodes in that first Indigo League series which are not available with dubs.
I'm pretty sure
What?
the first episodes in Sailor Moon, it was originally like 46 episodes, but
Yeah.
the Deke released only 40.
That's correct. 46
That's true,
episodes
actually. Yes,
originally.
correct. Yeah.
So they cut out a bunch of stuff.
Which is why there are some episodes where there are 2 stories in the episode, where
Right.
halfway through it goes, now the other part for this story instead, which we're used to seeing in some
Goodness, you're right,
shows.
actually.
Yeah.
Because I did like kind of a rewatch when they released it onto ANIMELAB as well.
Oh, yeah.
And there was episodes that were never ever shown because there was no point to the episodes in the timeline.
Well,
story.
rewatching it now, there's an
Yeah.
episode where a guy falls off, like a large ledge, lands, and there's like a puddle of blood around him.
Mm-hmm.
That's never, ever.
Ever shown.
Was
on
that
shown.
the one with the Mercury's love interest one?
It's Jupiter's.
Oh, that's right. Oh, yeah.
Now, this is something like I want to bring up a particular episode which I just thought insane.
Oh, here we go.
This is in the first series, so in
Yeah.
those first 46 episodes. This is an episode at an airport on a runway.
That's one of the first. That was the Jedi one, isn't it?
Yes.
It makes no sense because,
It was
okay,
so funny.
So the whole airport is covered in fog and mist.
Yeah.
And yet there are planes landing and moving around in the 90s. They did not have landing systems that could handle
Those
fog in the 90s.
planes were being controlled
Yeah.
by Jedi.
That's right.
But the thing is...
Jedi.
Jedite.
Jedite.
Jedite. Okay, you
Yeah.
had me worried there. I'm sitting there going, did they seriously go straight to
No.
Jedi?
No.
No,
Sure.
but it's... it's kind of like a scene out of Prometheus where you're just kind of like, just run to the side, girls. Come on, it's
Yeah.
a plane.
Like,
But
you're fine.
they were literally running out of the path of
Jumbo 747s.
Jumbo Jet.
Yeah, that was odd. That
Because he was
episode.
just like, I'm just going to fly this really slowly towards you.
Now, we do need to talk about the rest of the synopsis. So, Sailor Moon, Usagi's destined to become Sailor Moon, a planetary guardian with the power to protect the Earth. She's given a special brooch that allows her to transform, and she must use her new powers to save the city from the evil, energy-stealing monsters sent by the malevolent Queen Beryl of the Dark Kingdom.
Honestly, the best bad guy ever.
Yeah. Now, obviously, if you've seen any of the fart work, oh dear.
The fart
If you've seen any of the artwork, this clearly today my brain's a little bit like that's my brain today.
yeah.
Very denky. Now, if you've seen any of the artwork of the show, you'll realise that Sailor Moon is not the only one, and there are other Sailor Guardians who join her in this quest throughout the story. And there's a lot to break down here. You have the first 5, the core team of 5, who are all there. So Mercury, Venus, Sailor Moon, Mars and Jupiter.
Yes.
Others do come into the story, but that's for a little bit later on.
Yep.
And this story kind of revolves around them until the end of the first season, where a certain major event happens
Oh, my God.
and it results in a reset. And I found that incredibly strange.
Yeah, I do not remember watching that when I was a kid because it would have traumatized me.
Yeah.
Beryl got the best of him.
She did.
She did.
She did.
Beryl.
And somehow throughout its broadcast, it maintained a PG rating.
Well, see, this is the thing.
Oh.
With the Deke one, they chopped and they cut it up so bad
Oh, yeah.
that it was made to be like, oh, she did it in the end. Well done. Woohoo.
Yeah.
You didn't actually see every single... Does it feel like spoilers?
Okay,
but you
look.
know what?
If you... What are we at? We're at about the 37-minute mark. So jump to 39 in this podcast. Spoilers are starting now. Here is a big warning sign to let you know. Kanpai! Kanpai! Spoilers start now.
Okay. Now, each of the Guardians die.
They
Yeah.
die, and Sailor Moon watches them die.
That's
including
traumatizing.
Mamoru or Darien or
Mamo-chan.
Demian,
Yeah.
whatever you want to call him, his multiple alter egos.
For a girl to
And then-
go through that it's just...
Yeah.
In the next series, she has PTSD.
Yeah.
Yep.
She's
And that,
depressed.
That is brushed under the rug in the
Yeah.
deep cup.
It's just... Oh,
It's
She's
just
like-
you won, you lost your powers. Oh, look, you've regained your powers.
Yeah.
Whereas in the true story, they all lose their memory.
yeah.
And then,
Yeah.
Usagi has her memory wiped and she eventually relearns it and has to, in that first episode, and has to go through the process of acknowledging all of her friends died in front of her and having
the
that
moment
PTSD.
she gets her memories back, and Luna is asking her cat, Luna, is asking her, are you there? And she's like, oh, it's been a while. How are you? She is so sad.
She's
she
so
is
broken.
not okay.
No.
And she then, at the end of that first episode of Sailor Moon R, she farewells her old life.
She does.
As a normal girl, which is her one
Beautiful,
true wish.
isn't it?
Oh, it's just heartbreaking.
So heavy.
Look, I mean, with the dick, it was just like very happy-go-lucky kind of thing. And for what it's worth, it was good for that time.
Yeah.
But when you really watch the actual original stuff and how actually rips your heart out kind of thing.
It does.
And that's a typical magical girl formula, though, because that
It is.
you had that happy-go-lucky, but bang, it hits you like a ton of bricks, and you get that depression.
Yeah.
Like, what was the other one we were talking about? Card Captors.
Well,
Same thing.
yeah,
Goes
Card
really
Captors.
dark. Everyone's like, oh, you know, the one they tried to rebrand as 4 Kids as Magical Molly and realized they couldn't.
No.
Pretty
cool.
What's is it Madoka?
Madoka
Magica.
Magica.
Ooh.
I haven't seen it, but I've heard that.
Please
so
watch that
dark.
because, my goodness.
We are going to watch that, by the way.
Alrighty.
Yeah. So Madoka Magica
That's the one.
4 Kids
yeah.
bought the rights for Madoka
Good luck
Magica.
there.
This
We
was
saw some Haagen-Dazs.
This was about 7 years ago they bought it, and then everyone took the mickey because they were going to try and make a series called Magical Molly, using that as the basis, and didn't
Sorry, but
realize.
Magical Molly just sounds like a street drug.
Yeah, it does, doesn't it?
It does, doesn't it?
Yeah.
But they, obviously didn't realize that. Oh, this actually has some pretty twisted stuff, and after you get past episode 3, things are at no point in that show are child friendly.
No.
And for those parents listening at home, I do apologize. We are in spoiler territory, so it's fine. Now, on that note, let's edit, jump back out. We are at about the 40-minute mark, so we might have gone a bit over, but we didn't give too many spoilers away after the 39-minute mark. We do need to talk about how well this show did, because we do know how big Sailor Moon became, and it says a lot that celebrities and pop culture stars in the early 2000s were all aware of this. It's featured in songs. What is it?
Smash Mouth's All Star has a reference to Sailor Moon in it.
Yep.
We've got
You've got multiple celebrities dressing up as Sailor Moon for Halloween, even to this day.
Yeah.
Yep. I think Kirsten Dunst in particular had a lot of experience dressing up as Sailor Moon and other Sailor Scouts and people from that series for that. And she's done videos as well. But also, like, you've got songs like 1 Week by the Bare Naked Ladies. That's also talks about the Sailor Moon girls in it as well.
Wait, I'm actually getting them confused. I think it was that one. Yeah.
I was sitting there going, I didn't realize Smash Mouth were into Sailor Moon. That's
Bare
cool.
Naked Ladies 1 Week. That's the one. Yeah.
They're very similar.
Yeah,
very.
well,
I thought they were exactly the same, to be honest.
Well, no, look, but Bare Naked Ladies are better. They just write funny stuff, whereas Smash Mouth try to be serious and they're not taken serious.
No, Smash Mouth is.
Hey, they're laughing all the way to the bank, buddy.
Oh, they just go, somebody.
Yeah.
I now actually want to do that. I now want to do All Star to the song. Okay.
What I liked about the original one, though, is the dynamics of the building of the characters and the relationships and things like that. And which is not what you got through the manga or eventually Crystal and stuff like that. But with the original show, there was like the little arcs and things like that that really weren't there, but it was just like good. Like, okay, I love the love triangle between Sailor Moon, Mamoru, Rei, and
Sailor Moon,
Usagi, because it was perfect for that time as well. Like, they were together, like they were a couple.
Yeah.
But then, obviously their memories and stuff come back and things like that. And poor Rei, like you saw that like heartbreak, and
You did.
you didn't really see that in like other animes, but she went through a lot, and it took a few episodes to kind of be like, you know what?
All right, fine, you win.
You win.
Yeah.
I mean, to put this in perspective, this was airing at the same time as the original Dragon Ball, Ranma 1/2, Yu Yu Hakusho, The Ghost Files, and so on. A lot of shows which, while they did have some heavy themes in them every now and then, they also they didn't go too close to those themes and didn't show the actual impact they had on the characters in some cases. Whereas Sailor Moon never shied away from it.
No, and that's what I liked about it. Like, you saw the heartbreak, you saw the frustrations and the real emotions in these characters. And I don't care what anyone says, I love that comedy factor in those, I
find it's very true to the emotions of
a
what are
14-year-old.
essentially children.
Yeah.
Because you're like, oh, she's so complacent, she's very whiny, klutzy, or very naive. And that's 14-year-olds. They can't help it.
Yes.
They're just kids. It's just how it is.
Let's kind of stick with that because 14-year-olds are not particularly known for being heroes, and that brings us to the Sailor Moon song.
Okay.
So there are two versions of this song. There is obviously the version that was created for Western audiences,
Yes.
which is literally just called the Sailor Moon theme song, and the original in Japanese, which is called Moonlight Legend. They have very different lyrics.
Legend, isn't it? What's the Japanese name for it? Moonlight Destino?
Yeah, Moonlight. I had it here a moment ago. Moonlight Legend, Moonlight Densetsu.
Densetsu, yeah.
Now, Moonlight Legend has a very different story to tell. Lyrics start, why can't I tell you all these feelings? It's so much easier when I'm dreaming. I think my brain's about to short circuit. I really wish I could find the words.
I love it.
Rewatching the episodes, I haven't skipped the
No,
opening
you never do, hey?
ever.
Now, this is all to the same tune.
Yeah.
None of this, no, it is. It's because the version that was created for the Western audiences cuts up and rearranges the song.
Oh, is it?
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
the same song, just kind of remixed.
The Sailor Moon English theme song is Fighting Evil by Moonlight, Winning Love by Daylight, Never Running from a Real Fight. She's the one named Sailor Moon. Now we're going to have a bit of a dig here. She runs all the time, especially in season 1. In Sailor Moon R, she gets a bit better. But she definitely runs from fights.
Well, she matures after.
She does. After a traumatic experience, it would do that
event.
to you.
Yeah.
She'll never turn her back on a friend. Yes, she does that all the time in season 1.
Yeah, she does until she realizes. She
yeah.
always has the moment of realization where
Yeah.
she should be like, oh, hang on.
She's always there to defend. Nope. Sailor V was doing that for a long time before she showed up.
That's not her fault.
Yeah.
I know.
Like Artemis just found Venus first.
Yes.
This is true. This is true. She's the one who we can depend.
Debatable.
Very debatable.
Yeah, no.
Now, look, this is not to say that Usagi's a bad character, by the way.
Oh,
This is
no.
just to say that the song doesn't really reflect the growth the character has to go through. This is more fitting for Sailor Moon R onwards, but not for the first show.
She is surprisingly likable for a character that at times is useless and very whiny.
Yeah, I think she's the every person character though. Like someone
Yeah.
could feel like she could be in that position.
She's very capable of making you self-insert.
Yeah,
Yes, I think it's the character that everyone wants to be.
right.
You know, you want to believe that you have this better half
Right.
that is strong, that if your friends are truly in trouble, you will run head on into a Monster X
Yeah.
and save the day.
Now, we do need to talk about another character
Oh.
who's also quite useless.
Ah, yes.
His name is Tuxedo Mask.
yeah.
Oh, you need the castanets.
Oh, yes.
Bow, bow.
Wrong show.
Wrong show. But the thing is that Tuxedo Mask in that first season, including that big finale, doesn't actually do
Useless.
anything.
No,
He's
he really
ever.
doesn't, hey.
Yeah.
He throws a rose and basically
Says a line.
and leaves. It's literally like the end of, and we've linked He-Man on our social media this week because of the new series coming. But He-Man had these little messages at the end where he's like, "Don't do this, blah blah blah. Until next time." It's literally what his character is. He shows up, says a line, throws a rose. Until next time, I've done nothing.
Yeah. Cape swoosh.
Yeah.
But then his character is meant to only appear to help Sailor Moon. Like even
Yeah, but he
does.
doesn't.
he doesn't
really...
realize that it's him changing until
He's
much
kind of
later on.
like the Deus Machina.
Yeah,
You know, she's about to get killed. Everything is going bad.
I made a
And
distraction.
he just swoops in, does one tiny thing. Like, it's usually a distraction. It's never actually defeating an enemy.
Never really
because
fighting,
that's her
no.
job.
Mm-hmm.
It's just to kind of get her out of a pinch.
Yeah, he's her summon.
Yeah, except, well, that I think of, Final Fantasy.
Yeah.
when you say that. So if someone's actually do something.
Yeah,
And he's just like you can do it, baby.
Oh, so
He's his hype girl.
he's the move in Final Fantasy that increases your attack power.
Yes.
that is his existence.
Yeah.
He's a buff.
Yeah.
I
He's
will-
not buff, but he does buff.
Yeah.
Does he
Yeah.
buff
Yeah,
out?
yeah.
Anyway.
I will say this though, a couple of years later after this one obviously finished, we had PGSM, which is the Pretty Guardian Sailor Moon live action.
Yeah, the Japanese version?
The Japanese version.
Yeah. Now, the Japanese version, if memory serves me right, was actually quite good.
It is very good. The storyline is absolutely incredible.
If you somehow manage to find any footage of the American version,
please.
which apparently has been cast into the depths of hell, but let's be honest.
From whence it came.
But let's be honest, if they can recover the Star Wars Christmas special from the 60s, someone has this out there.
Oh, someone's got to have it.
Someone has this pilot.
It's much like Lord of the Rings.
Yeah.
It was born in the fires and should be one
returned into it.
Back into the flames.
But the Western adaptation that Hollywood tried in the 90s was shocking.
Oh, yeah.
And it never saw the light of day, but we've seen pictures. The Japanese rendition, however, is fantastic.
It is. Honestly, the storyline for because I watched I binged watched it. I found a way to watch it. I watched that whole thing. And the backstories of all the characters, like, I won't go too much into it because it's not really like to the manga or the anime or anything. It's its own. It's its own story. Like the girl's hair only changes when they become the Guardian characters. They actually are pretty much normal girls, normal Japanese girls.
Yeah.
They only transform into like the actual colorful girls and stuff like that. The backstories of the actual characters itself, like Rey and Venus's Mina's story. Oh my god, I cried because she's actually got like a death. It's a lot.
Yeah,
it's a
there's
lot.
a lot.
Oh, okay. I haven't actually seen it.
Please watch it. It's just.
We'll watch it.
It's very cheesy. It's very like
Look,
Power Rangers.
If it wasn't, it wouldn't be a Japanese live
No,
action.
right.
Yeah.
But it was just incredible. Like I can't speak highly of it. It was just so good. But yeah, the original series, amazing.
Now, we do need to move on and start talking about some of the other stuff to get onto our main topic of the films that are coming out. But a fun little fact, this did win the 1992 Animegs Anime Grand Prix Award in Japan for the manga. And obviously the series itself then went and took a host of awards due to its well-written story and the way it managed to really just kind of capture the hearts of everyone who was reading it and watching it.
For me, it was my gateway into anime. Honestly, like this is the show that got me into anime. I was saying to you before, Emma, like this was the show I binged watched when we could really binge watch. I actually could binge watch it because back in the day, Foxtel had episodes running non-stop.
And now you can catch it on all the Funimation services and Netflix in some places too. So
between this and Dragon Ball,
this is it for me.
For me, I was sold.
Yeah. I'm obsessed with Sailor Mars. Like she was what I idolized. This was my favorite character of all time is Sailor Mars.
Moving right along, Anime Communique. It's time.
Kawaii-Fi Radio.
Tonight on Anime Communique.
Great story, compelling and rich.
Nothing brings ratings up like a little controversy.
Oh, and there's controversy baby.
All right.
Oh, boy.
Some of you outside of Australia may not be aware, but in Australia, we have a streaming service called ANIMELAB, which started by a company called Madman, who focus on international media within Australia and distributing it with dubs, subs, and so on. About 18 months ago, before that, a couple of years back, they set up ANIMELAB streaming service, and about 18 months ago, Funimation became the majority shareholder of this company.
Yes.
As of June 17, ANIMELAB is no more. Everything is migrated to Funimation's services. They will be retaining the ANIMELAB team, which is great news for their local presence here. But the transition is branding everything Funimation across its services, social media, and users will be able to log into Funimation now using their ANIMELAB account information. This might not be good news. We already knew it. We've been experienced the Funimation experience for the past 18 months. It's been fine. The issue is the way we access the content, because ANIMELAB's app is probably one of the best anime viewing apps in the world, and that's not to just kind of toot our own horn. They made a conscious effort to keep improving it and adding more features to it. In comparison, Funimation haven't changed their app in Australia in 3 years.
No.
And it is a dumpster fire. You cannot find things. You will search for a title, and even if you've put the right spelling on, sometimes it won't show up.
No.
Because they've indexed everything poorly.
Yeah.
And it sounds like, and
too.
Just for clarification, we haven't got confirmation of this, but it sounds like, based on the talk that's been going around at the moment, that the ANIMELAB app is going to be closed off and everything migrated to Funimation.
Which makes me very, very sad.
Which is going to lose them customers because it is so difficult to use.
Yeah.
So we can only really hope that during this takeover, or part of their takeover will be to refresh the app.
Well, I want to see them do
Maybe.
is take the ANIMELAB and literally just take the ANIMELAB sticker and replace it with the Funimation logo.
I'd like that.
That would be the best outcome.
Well, to me, it makes the most sense. And then you
doesn't
just redirect the Funimation traffic into that app and rebrand the app on the App Store. Or relaunch it. If you need to relaunch it. But use the existing infrastructure. You spent so much money creating such a good thing.
Yeah.
Don't waste it.
I mean, I don't see why they would just get rid of it. Surely that would just be dead money.
Brand consistency.
Yeah, but they've already got the colours.
Well, Funimation is owned by Sony. And Sony are not smart. Look,
it's probably just cheaper
offense.
for them to do it this way. That's the problem. And it's just, for me, it's really sad because I got ANIMELAB, believe it or not, to watch Sailor Moon Crystal. So, and it's actually, for me, ANIMELAB is a really big reason why I got back into the community as well.
Yeah.
One of my best friends is thanks to ANIMELAB. And, you know, obviously they don't work there anymore, but like I connected a lot through the community of ANIMELAB. I met a lot of my friends through it. And it's just really heartbreaking to see something that got me back into anime and what I'm, you know, like this was a 2015, 2016 ANIMELAB launch, and it's 2021 now.
Yeah.
For this long period, I've been watching anime on ANIMELAB. I've been
I'm
huge
the same.
subscriber, and it's just a very sad moment that it's going. And I know we're still getting Funimation, and it's making me very emotional. But it's like,
and to be honest, ANIMELAB is a better product than Funimation's existing offerings. Like they should just be keeping that ANIMELAB branding, but it's because Sony wants to have this worldwide Funimation branding. I'm interested to see what happens in Europe, because in Europe, Funimation's branding is whacking him, and that's across 5 different countries at the moment. Is that all going to become Funimation? Because that's the question.
Yeah.
We know Funimation in the UK and Northern Ireland and the Republic of Ireland doesn't have anywhere near the catalogue that the rest of the Funimation brand has. And there is this concern that we're going to see that same sort of issue because of the branding and because of the rights.
So I've been looking at the YouTubers and I've been watching a few streams and stuff, and people are not happy about this at all. And I've been reading the Twitter comments, things like that. And one person brought up something in particular, and I thought it was really interesting. You know, Funimation refused to show it, even refused to dub it again. ANIMELAB picked it up and they started showing it.
Well, I'll have to censor what you were talking about.
Obviously,
last year there was a show which didn't really kind of conform to the community standards a lot of streaming services had, and it resulted in it getting dropped by a lot of them. ANIMELAB decided to continue it.
Yeah.
And look, I was not a fan of the show myself, but I know that made a lot of people happy that they had that independence to do so.
They had that fight to do it, yeah. And that's what I'm sad that we're going to lose that now, because,
Well, we might not. We don't know the extent.
According to all the information that's been released on the press releases, a lot of ANIMELAB stuff is being closed down. The ANIMELAB blog is being retired. All future posts will be moved into Funimation's blog system. ANIMELAB's social media team will remain as the branding transitions over the following months, but it doesn't say what happens after that. ANIMELAB staff in Melbourne will still be there as well under the Funimation brand. But the issue kind of is that they haven't specified how this transition is going to work or why this transition was even needed.
And why, like, all of a sudden, bang, by the way, we're going to be changing in
in
a week.
2 weeks.
Excuse me? Like, give us some time, I'm a bit ticked off about that, to be honest.
Because the concern a lot of the people in the community have is that the ANIMELAB app will be retired, and then we were going to have a...
Have we had confirmation of that?
Yes.
No.
Some have said it, but...
Some people have said it, but they haven't outright said it. They've just said
I think I saw it on
everything
Twitter.
will be amalgamated.
No. It was on Twitter.
Was it on...
Yeah, it was. They actually responded back to someone who questioned if we have the Funimation app and the ANIMELAB app, what happens then? And they pretty much said, if you've got ANIMELAB, it's not going to be able to be used anymore. You're going to have to use the Funimation one.
So they're going to completely turn off that software.
Yeah.
Well,
We don't know what
we don't know
is.
if that's exactly what's happening. So what we have here, and this is the information that Kotaku have done. Once the transition is completed, the ANIMELAB blog will be ultimately retired. We'll continue publishing our articles over at FUNIMATION.com, funimation.com.blog/blog. Instead, we're working to make sure that as many shows as possible are available on Funimation as ANIMELAB transitions over, including even more anime content, the dubs you know and love, and much more. Meaning that they're moving everything from the ANIMELAB app into the Funimation app. And you can log into Funimation's online app using your ANIMELAB login, which suggests that transition period is going to not work very well.
No. I don't understand why they even moved the shows onto the ANIMELAB app in the first place. If they knew this was going to happen, why did they, they added like 100 back catalogue shows onto the ANIMELAB app. If we knew, and this was 3 or 4 months ago they did this, they knew June was okay, the target, they're going to change over.
I would think that, people who really truly enjoy anime, they don't trust Funimation.
No, they don't.
So they would have put it onto ANIMELAB to get the cred, I suppose, and to get the viewers in, and then rebrand it later. So then they are changing. They're going to have to change the perception of Funimation.
Well, look here's an interesting tidbit. In 2020, ANIMELAB managed to outlast its international counterpart after Funimation announced that access to Funimation Now will be shut down in Australia and New Zealand. Now, I don't know if there's actually...
You can't access Funimation at all.
Yeah. So how are they going to transition? Are they going to create a brand new app?
Well, that's what we can't figure out.
There's so many unknowns. And obviously, we'll keep you up to date once we do hear about it and share it across our social media.
My concern is the price as well.
No, pricing's not changing.
That's what they say, but...
Yeah, but Australia's pricing is directly reflective of Funimation US's pricing. So while they are a little cheaper
They wouldn't raise the pricing because they're already cutting the name that people know and trust. They wouldn't then stab you again with the price hike.
Look, if they do it, I'm going to be honest with you. I'm going to have to cancel.
Well, in the days of pirating...
I know.
They can't afford to...
do that, really.
They can't afford to be greedy.
Hey guys, future editing Kyle here. Having had a couple of days since we recorded this, there's been a few pieces of updates to the whole story with ANIMELAB and Funimation. So at this point, the latest information we have is that from now, everything will continue as normal, but from June 17th, you can log into the Funimation app using your ANIMELAB details. They are also going to add apps to the PS5, to more TVs and Nintendo Switch, along with others. And they say ANIMELAB will continue for now to give you some time to head over to Funimation and get started. However, in the near future, ANIMELAB will close and Funimation will be your go-to place for all the latest simulcast news and exclusive content, meaning we're moving from one app to another. They've got a question on their site: will Funimation have all the same functionality or features that I've experienced on ANIMELAB? And they say the ANIMELAB and Funimation technical teams are working very closely together to bring you the best user experience on Funimation possible, including a brand new app refresh. So there is an app refresh in the works. Whether that will be taking what they've learned from ANIMELAB and improving it, or otherwise, we don't know, but it does mean the ANIMELAB app will definitely be going away. There's a reason that ANIMELAB lasted so long in the market.
True.
And that's because they did the right thing by the consumers, and they did the right thing when it came to... when it came to doing their, their licensing and, not overcharging.
And they were very much within the community as well. That's what massively. I loved about ANIMELAB. You knew them straight away. You knew who was behind that. The Twitter, you knew who was behind the social medias. Not because I know that person, but it's because you knew they connected with the community. They made it. They built this community basically in Australia. I'm not going to deny it. There's so many people that credit ANIMELAB, for bringing anime really back into the Australian scene in a way. Yes, it was there, but in a streaming sense, we all relied on ANIMELAB.
Yeah, definitely.
And it's disappointing as well because obviously with Funimation trying to acquire Crunchyroll, which everyone is saying is done, it hasn't got regulator approval yet, so it's not done. It will eventually happen though.
Yeah.
But with that basically means Sony have a monopoly over what anime we can watch everywhere. We haven't got High Dive in Australia. We haven't got Retro, not the full version.
Oh, really?
We do not have the full version of High Dive in Australia.
So what do we have then?
We've got a version which is based on... it's basically limited stuff. Anything that's been done in-house for them, we get. Otherwise, They've got a lot bigger
Seriously?
catalogue on High Dive International than we get in Australia. We don't have access to Retro Crush, which has a ton of the old anime, which is no longer available on digital or physical media.
Okay.
We haven't got access to that. And so while we've got access to, some stuff, it's not the extent as the competitors in the US do. And that's frustrating. And that's going to be really concerning because that means that Sony own animation studios, Sony own voice acting studios, Sony own music studios, which is used for anime. They're starting to get enough power to dictate whether or not a show gets shown international and shipped international. And that's what's really worrying me. Everyone's going, but from a consumer side, it's great. It might mean all of my stuff's in one place. That's great and all, but if you can't watch the stuff you want to watch and the stuff that wants to get made isn't getting made because Sony's refusing to fund it, that's a major issue for the industry.
Yeah, although when you say that, we are fortunate that we've got tycoons like Netflix
and Amazon
that are buying up that.
They are, but typically they don't do a good job.
Hey, Netflix have done all right.
Netflix in particular.
Some Netflix originals have been good.
Yeah.
Some Netflix originals have been good, but they've been the ones that Netflix hasn't made themselves. They're the ones that someone else has pitched it to them. So an animation studio said, we want to make this, would you fund it? And
that's great.
Those are the good ones. But those aren't happening very often because Netflix wants full control over the product they're selling.
Oh, of course they do.
I mean, yeah.
Therefore, Netflix are producing their own content that they decide on, and the production quality on them is shoddy.
Okay, but at least Netflix is there bringing some of the real back catalogue shows that we would not have been able to have. I credit them for bringing back Neon Genesis onto a streaming site. That would never have happened.
Oh, look.
Definitely.
Neon Genesis would have eventually ended up on a streaming site. It was just finding someone who was willing to pay the price. That was the issue.
That's the thing. And Netflix has the big bucks to do it.
Amazon could have as well.
Amazon.
Yeah, but Amazon is...
And unfortunately, it meant we got the awful new dub of Neon Genesis, which is...
Yeah, that's depressing in its own right. But look... We've got Neon Genesis on a streaming platform. The only thing I'm worried about with Netflix is they always have time frames of how long they'll keep the catalog on.
Yeah.
And it's because they want only their own internal stuff. That's why they've made this massive push to create their own Netflix original shows.
Okay.
And don't be me wrong, as we've mentioned, some of them are great, but the vast majority of them end up being pretty shocking. Some of the anime adaptations we've seen on Netflix have just been awful. It's getting better. And especially this season, we haven't got it here yet, but Shaman King and Eden Zero haven't released on the international one. They both released the first part of them this month.
Okay.
They are apparently really good, but once again, it's a case where it's an independent studio, so like Kyo Animation and so on, have created it and came up with, suggested it. And instead of the old agreement they had with Netflix where they'd rent it off them and then they'd have to shop it somewhere else, they've entered partnership deals now. So in the future, going forward, maybe better, but for now...
I think that would be very exciting for a company to enter a partnership with someone
with money.
Animation studio.
Yeah, someone with money like Netflix. I'm not too worried about this change. It's sad to lose the name, but I'm kind of staying true to my character, which is terminally optimistic, and just hoping that they will just rebrand, which doesn't actually mean a lot.
If they've already changed,
if they've already bought all of ANIMELAB except the name, and you didn't even notice, then I'm gonna say.
Well, look, I mean,
you know what?
I'm hopeful as well, but
goes.
I'm very wary of Sony having monopolies on anything.
Yeah,
because
it just sounds like every other Australian media, doesn't it?
It does, doesn't it? This is true. All right, let's move on to something a bit more positive, and by positive I mean young girls in dire straits.
What?
Wonder Egg Special, Wonder Egg Priority Special.
I was like, where are you going with this?
Wonder Egg Special is coming out on June 29th in Japan. It's going to be a 1 hour long special.
Not long enough.
It's not, and it's going to be the continuation of the anime's 12th and final episode, so not a recap by the sounds of it. Funimation have the rights to stream it in June too, so I reckon June 30th, 31st. Is there a 30th? There
no,
isn't.
there's not. I was going to say there's no 31st in
July
June.
1st.
There we go.
So June 30th probably then, because it's the only other day in June it can be on.
That's just in time for school holidays over here.
Yeah, it is. So that's going to be really good. Now, if you haven't been around on the podcast for a while, Wonder Egg was in one of the first shows we talked about this year because it aired in January through that Excuse me. It aired in the winter season from January through to March, and it was phenomenal.
It was one of the heavy hitters from the season.
Yeah, a completely original series. Was it Studio Mappa?
I think so.
It was Mappa or Wit. There's my phone going. I'm real good at being a professional.
Professional.
But look, there was a lot to like about this show. It was, once again, a show which kind of played around in the magical girls area, but in a lot more mature and dark way. Was rated MA15 or R, depending on the region. So obviously not for the kids. For the parents listening, this one wouldn't be for them. It takes on a lot of quite heavy themes involving, mental health and, I guess you could say the psychological well-being of the characters.
Well, it's actually categorized as a psychological thriller, isn't it?
Yeah, it is actually. So that's a valid point. It's definitely not for everyone.
So it's cute as hell, but then it gets real dark.
It does. Now, that's going to be on June 29 in Japan. Funimation services worldwide streaming they have the rights for it in June as well. So that will mean ANIMELAB. It will mean Wakanim.
Nice.
It's just a question of when those services get the rights to do so. Funimation US should be pretty much the same day.
God, I can't wait though.
It's going to be really good. Now, going on to something that I shouldn't be hopeful of because Netflix is behind it, because I clearly am so jaded.
You really are, actually.
Maybe I'm just jaded this week.
Negative Nelly.
Yeah.
Negative Nelly.
Yeah.
But I'm really excited because Netflix's live-action Cowboy Bebop is premiering in American fall. So that would be the last quarter of this year, with Yoko Kanno returning as composer for the soundtrack. She is the incredible woman behind the original Cowboy Bebop soundtrack.
Nice.
Iconic.
Yeah.
That soundtrack is iconic.
I remember Cowboy Bebop. I thought it was a great show, but are we hyping it up too much though? Was it really that?
Look, I didn't watch it at the same time everybody else watched it.
Me neither.
When I guess people were younger when it first came out or whatever. It's good. It's pretty good. It's very cool.
Yeah.
I give it that. It's the cool.
It's got that
factor.
top cool factor.
It does. It really does.
Yeah.
But this is going to apparently be following a similar storyline as the original, so they're not going to change too much. But it's not storyline, not story. So these are kind of going to be stories that they created in between the original stories.
Okay.
So it's the same overarching storyline. That's what the press releases have said.
I wonder if they have any romance factor, because being a Netflix show kind of thing. I mean, Spike and Faye.
Spike and Faye had a very begrudging relationship.
But wasn't
Can you
it?
bring up pictures of the
The team behind it?
the actors.
The actors
Yeah, I'd like to
doing?
see what they look like. To be
Oh, actually, yeah.
Let's say Spike was schmick.
Oh yeah.
Schmick, cool boy.
So I'm going to mute this, but they did a... this has got Tank, the opening theme, for it.
Oh, she looks like a Faye.
Yeah.
Oh
God.
They look
they look
really good.
That's crazy.
Is that John?
Yeah, John Cho.
John Cho, yep. And I can't remember the name of the guy playing Jet, but he played Bushmaster in Luke Cage 2. And
Wow,
he
they
was a
look
phenomenal
like-
actor.
I know John Cho from Star Trek.
Yeah, I know him from Harold and Kumar Go to White Castle.
Of course, yeah.
But they announced this week that Yoko Kanno would be doing all the music, and they pretty much went and said, no, Cowboy Bebop without Yoko Kanno isn't Cowboy Bebop. So
amazing.
The original team's on board, Sunrise are on board. It's really
So you know it's
embodying
gonna
that
be good.
file. Yeah.
Man, can you imagine if Sailor Moon had this treatment though?
Oh.
It wouldn't get this treatment because I'm sorry, but Sailor Moon isn't that kind of cool. It's different.
True. But I was thinking, if they ever do how they do like Winx.
Wink, yeah.
I wouldn't mind a Sailor Moon like that.
Mustafa Shakir is playing Jet, sorry.
Yes.
Yeah, and he's just such a good actor.
He is.
Yeah.
I love how when you go on Anime News Network and click his name, it only comes up with Cowboy Bebop. It's just like, this is the only thing this man has ever done. He definitely didn't get this job because he's a good actor.
Nope.
The most important role he'll ever play.
But yeah, if you got money to a show, you have a good production.
He's cool though.
He's so cool.
Oh my gosh.
But yeah, he's been in a lot of stuff, but this is going to be a big role for him. And alongside with Daniela Pinder, who's playing Faye Valentine.
He was in Luke Cage.
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah, Bushmaster. But Daniela Pinder I hadn't really heard of before, and then I started looking at
who dat?
Jurassic World Fallen Kingdom, Jurassic World. She's in the upcoming. I didn't know there was a new Jurassic World coming. Domination.
Yeah.
In the originals, which was that vampire teen sort of thing.
I started watching that. I couldn't do it.
It's not for it's not for everyone. He was in Expendables. He's been in a lot of stuff as a Daniela has been in a lot of stuff which was sort of a minor role, and then she was cast as the witch Sophie for season 4 of The Vampire Diaries, and that then kind of bolstered her, and she started getting more and more roles. But she's a phenomenal actor, and she actually, if you have a look online on Netflix, it would have been about 12 months ago, they did interviews with the cast during the break during COVID, all over Skype, and she is so into it. She's just done everything to learn about, her character.
Good.
That's awesome.
And, really embody it. And she goes, I've just tried to figure out what her mannerisms would be and implement it in my day-to-day life to practice it so it's natural.
I feel like John Cho would be a nerd as well.
John Cho's a massive nerd.
I think he's a massive fan of Bebop as well.
I bet he would be.
Yeah, I think that was one of the high key reasons he had to do this show, because he's a massive fan.
Well, it's kind of like Taika Waititi is a massive fan of Akira, and that's why everyone went berserk when they announced he was going to be the director for it.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Really? Well, yeah, it's now been shuttered again because everything.
God, I love him so much.
He's such a good director. But because he was going to adapt the full 6 manga instead of just the film version, which is beautiful. But look, that is where we will leave the anime news today. So keep an eye on our social media for more anime news and trailers. Whenever it pops up, we'll throw it up there as well. But we should get back to what we want to talk about, and that is, of course, Pretty Guardian Sailor Moon.
Kawaii-Fi Radio.
We'll be there on time. There's 20 minutes of ads.
Cinema Club.
Well, we didn't have to sit through any ads this time, so that was a win, actually. But we have all caught the first Sailor Moon Eternal film, and Fafa, you've caught the second.
Yes.
It is now available on Netflix. It landed last week, and it's
boy.
It's something. It's something.
It's a real.
So yeah, but before we go into that, we do need to take a step back and talk about where this has come from. So if you recall, we mentioned a little earlier that the original Sailor Moon series ran in the 90s. So 1992 to 1993, and then subsequently as following for each of the sequels.
Was it 97 it ended?
98.
Yeah.
And we didn't get all of those series. We missed out on Sailor Stars because there was some considered contentious and controversial parts of it.
Yep.
And then in 2016, they decided to reboot the franchise with Sailor Moon Crystal following the manga directly.
Goodness me, we were all so excited when that was announced.
Unfortunately, that didn't stick the landing.
And then it came out, and then you were like, oh no.
They used...
Well, actually, no. I also had Sailor Moon goggles on my face at that point because I thought it was amazing. But when you watch back, you'll go, oh my goodness.
Look, the CG and animation quality were not where they should have been.
No.
That was the big thing. And the fact that they used CG as a core part of it for the transformation sequences really took away from the show.
Terrible.
It took you out of the moment and the
experience.
It's
not right. It's not true to the original.
No. The art style didn't reflect the original shows, and in some cases, faces didn't seem centered on the actual face. That's kind of a critical thing that you need to do. And even though the original series did that, it was because of the art style it worked. It was kind of funny. It was like, oh, they all look a little bit weird here. But they have just gone through something weird, so fair enough. The big issue was that the show removed any of the comedy, the heart, the entertainment factor.
Yeah.
And sure, the original series has a lot of filler, but Crystal was so focused on the story.
It was 100 as direct as the manga.
It didn't have as much to give.
No.
And that was really disappointing. So the first two, it's really strange as well. Only 39 episodes to get up to where we are, which is where Sailor Moon Super S would have been, or Stars, in the other one.
S and Stars.
Yeah, so 200 episodes they've covered in 39. And then 2 films. Yeah. So that tells you how much of it was filler. Because the original manga only had, I think it was... 61 chapters. Yeah. 18 volumes.
Not a lot.
So not a lot. Yeah. So it tells you how much was padded for the TV show, which, was commonplace. Commonplace.
It was so good.
Commonplace. Yeah.
It was so good. But because it didn't have the comedy or the heart, it didn't have the characters were still relatable, but they felt distant. Not everyone kind of liked it. And then the second part of season 1 came out and it improved. And then it wasn't great. And then the third season came out and it improved a lot.
Oh, massive improvement.
That was under a different director. So, you know.
Sorry, what?
Crystal season 3, which is when we were introduced to Neptune, Uranus, and Pluto.
Yeah, so the outer planet
which
scouts
changed their animation team, and you could tell massive.
Like it still undertow
still
the
held
animation,
the tone of Crystal, but
it definitely they moved towards
Fluid.
the original
Yeah.
art style. And you know, this series was to celebrate the 20th anniversary, so it's kind of interesting that we've gotten to a point now that we've had the first 2 seasons not great, third season quite good. The equivalent of season 4, which is the Sailor Moon Eternal movies, 1 and 2, have come out, and they cover that whole Dark Circus arc, which was shocking in the original. Like, it was a bit of a mess.
Yeah, I mean, a very controversial season in its own right.
And I think...
Still is.
Yeah, even the
what
current...
were they, the Amazonias?
Yeah.
Yeah,
the
quartet and the trio, and the quartet.
Yeah, they're not appropriate.
No.
It was weird.
No.
Yeah, but look...
But that's not what we were going to talk about, really.
Let's talk about the actual film. So this is on Netflix now. It originally released in Japan, movie 1 on January 8 and February 11 for movie 2. They were meant to be 6 months apart, but COVID. So,
perfect, we get it all in one go.
They were like, well, we've got them both sitting here. Would you like it?
We know you're not doing anything else. Watch them both.
Well, I mean, it's what happened with Demon Slayer, isn't it? You know,
well,
it was in cinemas for 7 months in Japan. It's insane.
I do wonder, though, how it would have happened if it did get released into cinema.
Well,
especially here.
It did have the cinema release over there, but not here. And the reason for that was because when Toei looked at the international rights agreements and how they'd have to go about it for an international release, the amount of money Netflix offered was more than they estimated they get from the whole world's cinema ticket sales. Because obviously you don't get all of that ticket sales. If your ticket's $20, you don't get $20 as a filmmaker. You get maybe $6, and that varies depending by region.
And you wouldn't make that. You would not make that money because not many people go to the movies anymore. It's insanely expensive.
Well, it's not just that. Not many people want to sit next to another person.
That too.
and that's floor.
You know,
that's
it's
if
true,
your cinema's open.
Yeah.
Yeah, there you go. That's true.
So it's out on Netflix, and all right, I think we need to be brutally honest.
Let's be brutally honest.
It's not great.
Don't do it.
It's not unwatchable. It's not as good as it could be.
As a fan, I would be blunt and I say you cannot go into this film as a standalone at all. Absolutely not.
You have to have watched Crystal in the lead up.
Yep.
I haven't seen like a lot of Crystal, so I was watching it and I'm like, what? I recognize those characters.
Yeah.
But
because the story's in a different order from the manga. This is following the manga's order, but they didn't follow the manga order for the original 90s series.
No,
they
90s
kind of
never did.
Rearranged and just grabbed bits they thought were good and went, we're coming to a finale. Let's find a big arc and throw that in.
Right.
I had a lot of beef with this movie.
All right. Well, tell us. Lay out the beef. Let's get chopping on the steaks.
Out of the way. Okay. So the animation, I'm not a fan. It's very bright. It's very bright.
Too bright. The eyes in particular are a bit too bright.
But in comparison to what Crystal had, this is a massive step up.
Oh, look,
massive.
Definitely a massive step up, but it's not good enough.
No.
For a franchise Netflix, of this
compared
size.
to the OG, it's
I'm with you.
It's odd.
Now that's not to say you shouldn't watch it. If you are a Sailor Moon fan, please do check it out. It's just I think the way, I don't know if it's the dub or the sub or if it's the original content.
The original content.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
It doesn't flow well.
No, this is the problem Crystal had as well, and as beautiful as the manga is and stuff like that, you need the heart for Sailor Moon. It just does not work if you just...
The movie has a real focus on Chibi Moon.
Yeah.
It does.
Little Rabbit or whatever you want to call her.
Chibiusa.
And I have always hated Chibiusa.
Oh, yeah.
I think she's probably one of the most polarizing characters of the show. Like,
definitely.
never mind like relationships with age gaps or anything like that. her existence was incredibly problematic.
It was really
honestly.
uncomfortable, I found.
And it was like, I don't know if it was touched on, I can't remember if it was this movie or the next one that it touches on. There was some controversial.
No, it's the first film. Yeah.
See,
between her and
Mamoru.
Mamoru.
She has a crush on her own father.
And she acknowledges that as well, which is like...
She's constantly fighting with, technically, her mother for her father's...
affection.
Yeah, but like... It's not just affection.
I mean, admittedly, she is a child.
She's a child who's jealous of her mother.
Yeah.
Which is very Freudian.
You're definitely right there. And I'm not saying it's appropriate.
No.
I'm saying I also understand that children's thought patterns don't necessarily translate very well into it if you're explaining it as media. And I think that's part of the problem. I'd be really concerned if the creator decided, yes, she's in romantic love with Tuxedo Mask.
See, that's how I got it from that movie.
That's what it is.
Yeah.
And,
she has a romantic crush on her father.
Yeah, Takeuchi Noko has a lot to...
And she is very jealous of her mother's beauty and...
her legs and...
You know, because
height.
she wants to be her mother. Beautiful. She wants to be her mother. And it was weird. They had a lot of young children who were like maybe 6 having crushes or weird little moments.
But that's
with
the thing, like
adults.
she knows it's her mother, and the way she treats her in like it frustrates me to no end. Like
she has this weird disjointure with like her actual parents from the 30th century and then these teenagers that she's hanging out with.
Yeah.
But it's still weird.
It's just another case of why Japan?
Really, honestly, I'm with you on that one. Like, even like with the original series, like you see
What's
in
that? Nani?
Would you like a nani?
A word.
Nani?
Yeah.
Yeah, so but like Sailor Moon R, you see she's very young, like probably like 5 or 6, right?
Yeah.
Then you get to Super S, which is theoretically what Eternal is based on. And she's probably she's aged a little bit, I think, as well.
8 to 10.
8 to 10.
Yeah.
Yeah, no. It's just
so
like...
that in Australia, that's year 5?
Year 5, yeah.
Year 4 and 5?
No.
Just no.
And like the relationship she has with Helios Pegasus is just...
Yeah.
That Pegasus relationship is just not okay.
Because...
It wasn't okay in the original. It's still not okay now.
It's still not okay. And they try to justify... not up to the second movie, but they try to justify it in the second, like, please wait for me kind of attitude. And
that's not okay.
It's not okay.
That's grooming, and that's a crime.
Thank you. That I can't say anything better than that, and it's exactly it.
Like, it doesn't matter. Even Japan has laws against it.
And this is what I don't understand. Why are we getting shows like this? And this is going to a global audience as well. Like that's.
But here's the thing: it's a damned if you do, damned if you don't. If they changed the narrative for it, everyone would complain that they weren't sticking to the manga. If they stick with the narrative, everyone chastises them for sticking to that story when it's not appropriate.
But there's...
Yeah, but they could just argue that it's not appropriate.
Yeah.
Especially in modern times.
You can, but we've seen a lot with Japanese companies over the years where they don't want to risk confrontations. We've seen how big a deal it is if a Japanese company has to apologize. We've, whether that's them doing a deep bow in front of the media and so on. And they do them for very small things. Like, as we saw Chris from Abroad in Japan mentioning, a train that left 20 seconds early. Like,
okay, but then why are we letting Sailor Moon get away with this though? Like, is it just the whole glittery... Because it's been it's been out there for so long that we can let this get away with it?
I find throughout the show, there have been problems that have arisen.
Oh, God, yeah.
And then have been stamped out by the next director or producer.
Right.
So in the second half of the first season, they introduced panty shots.
They did.
Which infuriated me.
Yeah.
And coming it back into Sailor Moon R, they have completely gotten rid of those.
Mm-hmm.
But the characters are skimpier.
Yep.
However, they're not. So the way that they're dressed is sexy, but they're not sexualized.
And they've also made them skinnier.
Yeah.
Is this in Eternal?
This is in the original series
okay,
and in
This is
Eternal.
R.
Yeah.
This is Sailor Moon R.
Jupiter in particular, she's meant to be muscular.
Buff.
She does
Yeah.
that. They've shrunk her shoulder width,
True.
shrunk her thighs, shrunk her waist, so that she fits in with the other girls.
Yeah,
Whereas
and that's
before
what I don't
she
like.
was, she looked like a real girl.
Yeah, and that was the appealing factor of the show because you could feel like every type of girl could be
Same
in
with
this.
Mars. Mars
Yes.
was short and stocky, and then they made her look petite.
Was she? No.
I felt like when you
She
compared it to
always radiated a different kind of
Yeah,
strength.
she always had that different strength.
but like when you the stances she would make,
Yeah.
like she
okay,
wasn't
okay.
physically short and stocky, but she'd crouch down into fighting stances.
Yeah.
She'd broaden herself and make herself appear larger. Whereas if you have a look at Venus or Moon, they don't. They stick with the slender stylizing.
They're still very delicate.
Yeah.
And that's the other thing I wanted to bring up was I found with Eternal there was a lot of sexualization of the imagery and stuff like Venus. For particular, there's a scene with Venus like just lying down.
Yeah. Well, look, I mean, we
there was a
noticed
lot
this
of
in the
strange
original.
nudity.
Very well.
Like alluding to nudity in the movie that they had never had before in any of the seasons. So before every single transformation, you'd get a shot of their face and naked bare shoulders and throat, which was never in the original series.
I mean, that in its own right is not erotic, but the issue is that they're doing that to someone underage in a situation that suggests there are, and that's the issue. They've never done it before, even in like the original Sailor Moon when there were the scenes in that final story arc, right, where they had them doing like the spirits joining her. They were still in full costume. They never alluded to anything more.
Well, there was that one scene where it was Sailor Moon and Chibi Moon stayed at Mamoru's house.
Yes.
Yeah.
And
Sailor Moon was not in.
She was in like a She was in like a grandma nightie.
Yeah.
And Chibi Moon was in one of Mamoru's shirts.
Right.
Basically, which is if a grown woman was in that, it'd be very sexy. But they all slept in the same bed, and there was at one point where Chibi Moon was like thinking about how beautiful Sailor Moon is, and they had like an overshot of the two of them, and for some reason Usagi was naked. You couldn't see anything, but for no reason
She was naked.
She was naked.
Yeah.
Because Chibi Moon wanted her body.
Yeah.
It was weird.
And here's the thing which I still find very strange. Even Crystal and these films are rated PG.
Yeah,
I really don't
just
understand
think
it at all.
Entirely
It's
inappropriate, and it doesn't add anything.
It doesn't.
No.
If anything, it detracts from the story
Yeah.
because you're distracted by the fact they've done this. You're going, why did you do this?
Yeah, it's like that is not why I'm here to watch this story.
And then obviously with the second movie, I can't
get
even.
worse?
It does, and because obviously you get Uranus, Neptune,
And obviously the relationships those characters
And
had
those ones
were
were always
censored
older
in Western versions.
So they were heavily, well, not heavily. They were more.
They were more put in those
they were
positions.
more mature.
Yeah, because they were all meant to be university students.
Yeah, exactly.
Except for Pluto, of course,
Yeah.
who's meant to be the same age
They
as
had
Chibi Moon.
involved romantic relationships.
Wait, who?
Pluto.
No, Saturn was the same age as Chibiusa.
Is it Saturn?
No, I thought it was
Pluto's the oldest.
Really? I thought
yes.
Pluto
Yeah.
was the smallest.
No.
Long
Pluto's
green.
yeah.
Saturn's the one that
Saturn's,
time traveler.
Yeah. No, Pluto's the time traveler, but Saturn's the one of death.
You're
that's
you're
right.
right.
Yeah, the death.
I've gone
Yeah.
completely the wrong way. I've flipped them around. So Sailor Pluto was the one who had the staff and the long flowing green hair.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you were saying Sailor Saturn, who was the short.
Yes.
Yeah. Oh wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
For some reason, I had them flipped in my head.
No.
That makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
But yeah, because she's like the same age as Chibi Moon.
Oh, but maybe a year older or something.
Yeah.
But yes.
But she's in that same age bracket.
Yeah.
Well,
But-
she is the extra Sailor Scout for Chibi Moon. So the core five then have like a...
Their own, like Chibiusa would be the outer...
They have an outer planet equivalent.
Yeah.
Yeah. So they have like their partner, if you will.
Right.
So Pluto was kind of paired with
Jupiter.
Mercury.
Jupiter?
Yeah. In the movie.
Oh, in the no, you're right. Actually, in the movie, yes.
Yeah.
Good point, yeah.
Because then they introduced the outer planets,
course,
if you will,
yes.
back into...
Yeah.
And they then, in a moment of panic,
I
they...
need to do a bit of quick maths here. We've got 5 Sailor Scouts in the main story, and then we've got Chibi Moon as well, so that's 6.
Mm-hmm.
We only have 4 outer planets And actually, if you want to go by
No, we're not
NASA's
gonna go
thing,
by- yeah,
like
yeah.
but technically only 3. Do they have? Because I didn't get this far. I got about halfway through R, and then we didn't get any more. So I only knew of the Outer Sailor Outer Girls.
If we're
by the
talking
things.
about their corresponding like partner,
like Sailor Moon
Venus
doesn't
was
have
partnered
one.
with Artemis.
Ah, that's true. That's true.
So in Eternal, they all get like a power up, if you
yeah.
will.
Yes.
Encouraged by
their partner.
either their partner.
And they get 2 power-ups. They obviously get their super form, which is the with their partnership. And, you know, obviously with Artemis and Venus. And then, like, Mars with her Themis and Deimos. And you'll see it.
And Jupiter was just being badass.
No,
And Mercury
Jupiter
too.
was with Uranus.
Uranus.
No,
Because they
I
were
mean in the
both
film.
Jupiter was with Uranus.
Yeah.
That was when in her dire need,
was Uranus.
came to her
Yeah.
and was like, "You can do this."
I was talking about the Eternal film because they got their first power up in there.
Yeah, same.
Yes.
Same.
Wait, what?
Yeah.
I must have looked
Yeah.
away when we were watching.
Yes.
Sorry.
Yeah.
Cool. That's well, we're
Yes.
going to watch the second half tonight.
I've watched the second half. Where were you? Oh, the part 2, you mean?
Yeah.
Yes, obviously.
It's like, I hate it. I'm going to watch the second
So
part.
yeah,
I
really
need to
with
know.
the
Let's
first,
get
the
dumplings.
first movie, we're looking at the core 5 getting and Chibiusa,
Yeah.
obviously getting their Sailor Moon super power.
Mm.
And then you get the first half of the second movie where you see the Outers get their power.
They come
up.
back. Yep.
But then you'll see the next form of transition, which is when they go into their princess mode, which has never happened
Oh.
in the original.
Because that happened in
anime.
Stars, didn't it?
Briefly, yes.
It
Yeah.
wasn't shown.
It wasn't shown
Well,
officially.
we never got it. So.
No.
Yeah.
So we've never seen it. We've never seen them actually
Okay.
acknowledge their princess form till
Ah.
now. And so that's what is a very big difference to the original anime to Eternal. I like that because we've always wanted to see that actually happen,
Yeah.
like be acknowledged and things like that.
Yeah.
Because they are the princess of their respective planet.
Yeah.
You know what's really funny? I totally accept that there is a moon kingdom and there's a princess
it?
of that, but please, Mercury doesn't have a kingdom. It's too hot.
Too hot or too cold, depending on what side you're on. Like, being a nerd.
Space
Space
nerd.
stuff.
Yeah, for some reason my mind's like moon, yes. Mercury, never.
Well, Mercury is tidally locked to the sun, so one side is always facing the
Yeah.
sun and one side is always facing away. So you're either so hot that you get literally boiled alive instantly, or you're so cold you get frozen instantly because light never touches the other side. So it's both the hottest and coldest planet within the inner solar system, which I
cool.
think's so cool. Well, I say it's the hottest. Hottest naturally. Venus is just nah.
Yeah.
That's you don't
She
go
different.
there. She different. Look, she's got some serious acid problems for her gut. She needs acids. That's NASA's next mission. They're going to go pour a ton of Gaviscon over Venus.
Oh my goodness.
So they can land. But
I love that whole concept though. Like even just, you know, the moon princess, like the bunny off the moon, which is obviously a very Japanese
It's a
concept
huge
anyway.
Japanese
I would
story.
I want to know if there is like obviously we knew about the bunny and the moon story,
Yeah.
but is there like a folklore regarding was this based off something?
So a lot of moon stories in Japan are based around Kaguya and the moon. So the princess who gets trapped on the moon and can never have her love, and that's
which is Sailor Moon,
which is Sailor Moon and Momotaro's, because he's the Earth spirit and she's the moon spirit. So they can never be together.
Yeah.
Which is they can. They have a kid.
I mean, hello. But yeah, even like
spoilers.
Crystal Tokyo is such a beautiful concept to me. Like,
yes.
I find it really interesting that they then go and do this, try and take that same knowledge and apply it to the different planets.
The second opening, where they actually show Millennium, Millennium City, if you will, or whatever it's called.
Silver Millennium.
It's the Silver Millennium, that's it. It's so beautiful.
Oh God, it is, honestly.
Yeah.
It's really bad. Like every time I watch that opening, I want to cry. I love it so much.
Now, when you went to Japan, did you go to the official Sailor Moon store?
There's a what?
In Harajuku, because that was the first thing I had to do when I went to Harajuku is go to the official Sailor Moon store, because that is for me.
So the first time I went to Japan, I went with my mother, a friend, and her mother.
Yeah.
So we were very new to Japan,
I see,
and
yeah.
my mum loves planning trips, so she planned everything. So we didn't have a lot of time in
Yeah,
Harajuku,
yeah.
so we did, the bridge and the shrine that's
Of
there, which is
course.
amazing.
Yeah.
And just wandered around.
Mm.
And the second time I went, I didn't get there because we were in Tokyo for like a day.
Yeah.
The third time I went with my sister, I was really ill the day that we went.
Okay.
And it was pouring down with rain because
Yeah.
we went actually during the 2019 typhoon
Oof.
in October.
Oof.
Oh.
Yes, we were in Kyoto when the typhoon hit. So we actually got stuck in Kyoto for an extra day.
I think. Yeah.
Yeah. So we weren't affected by it, really.
Uh.
It did ruin our day,
Oh,
our
of course
plans,
it would.
and it freaked out my sister because we got emergency alarms on our phones.
Oh wow. Yeah.
Even
yeah.
though they were turned off, we had no internet
Amazing.
access.
What?
I have no idea how it came through, but we both just got one, and it was just a wall of text. Like, I can read a little bit of Japanese, but
it
there
was
was
just
some
text
really
galore,
complicated
yeah.
kanji in there, and I couldn't figure it out. So no, I never got to find it because I have never been able to spend enough time.
So you're telling me
there.
that's on the list?
Obviously.
You have to.
You're like, no,
It's-
that's why we're going.
Actually, we better not. I might buy everything.
You'd be so. It's actually quite small for what it is, but
Hmm.
just to say that you
Yeah.
have been to the official. I had to buy at least one.
Do they
little
have a
thing.
cafe?
They do have a cafe somewhere else, which they do the performances.
we
and-
should. Yeah, I'd
We'll do
prefer
that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's another big thing with Sailor Moon is it's not only just anime or live action. They have stage musicals. They've got
wow.
cafes. It is big.
It's
Like-
an
All right.
institution.
Yeah.
So the first permanent, this is from Otaku in Tokyo, a anime tourism and all things otaku blog. A guide to Tokyo's first permanent Sailor Moon cafe is the Shining Moon
That's
Tokyo
it.
Sailor Moon Cafe. And it was opened in August 2019.
Yep.
Incredibly popular. What's on the menu? A lot of Sailor Moon branded
That'll be why I
food.
haven't been there, because it
Just would
It
have
opened just before
like
the
it opened
pandemic.
the 2 months prior to when
Yeah.
I went, and I
Wow.
had already planned everything by then.
Oh my god, this looks so good.
Oh my gosh!
They have a tuxedo mask sundae,
Oh, that looks so good.
which looks like it's chocolate ice cream and black sesame
Ice cream
Yeah, yeah,
sundae,
yeah.
Oh,
with a little biscuit that has a top hat painted on it.
So good.
Now, just to bring it back to Sailor Moon while
Oh
you
my
guys
God.
look at the deliciousness.
So there's a curry, and the rice is in the shape of a
bunny. Oh, that's
Yeah.
amazing.
That's fantastic.
The dub.
Yes.
The dub.
Now let's talk about the dub for
dub.
Eternal.
Same.
I think they did a really good job with what they had.
Yes.
I don't think this. I don't
I
think
was
you
really
can blame them
impressed,
for this.
actually.
I'm high-key impressed with their dub.
I was super impressed with the Sailor Scouts.
Yeah.
I don't know if they're-
Momotaru didn't feel that great, but in this story, he's not that present either.
Now, I remember this because the actual people who, I think, was it the author who had the say of who the voice, the English, like they had listened, or the producer, something. I remember the
Yeah.
story. And they had the final say of who the English voice actor was going to
Oh,
be
wow.
to match that character perfectly.
That's
So
amazing.
they knew who they were going to get, and it just was like, perfect.
They sounded like the original.
yeah.
They did.
And
Except for Ray. Ray was a bit off,
I
but
know.
Mercury was dead on.
Mercury's dead on.
Dead on.
So
And
was Jupiter.
Jupiter was dead
really
on.
close.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But like, I love the English dub for this.
It was quality. They did a really
absolute
good
quality,
job.
and it's the same Media dub crew to do the Netflix one as well, which is really
yeah.
nice to tie that in.
Mm.
Now, as a purist to the original 90s one, I did love that 90s dub.
Look, everyone loves the 90s dub, and I
The
also
Deke?
love the 90s dub.
Both. I like because my favorite was Sailor Mars, and to this day, she's probably the reason why I like voice acting and stuff like that. Katie Griffin is an incredible voice actor,
I loved the Deke dub.
and I did too.
I loved it.
Here's the thing. That dub is now 25 years old.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
it's for its time. It's
Yeah.
exactly
No,
what it is.
it's great, but those actors are now 25 years older.
I will still go to a convention and I'll meet and
Look,
I'll shake their hand.
I'm not saying that's a bad thing. I'm not saying
Yeah,
that
yeah.
age is a bad thing. I'm saying it's a lot harder to get someone who's 45 to play a 15-year-old than it is a new voice actor.
If you're a trained voice actor, though,
Voices change over time a lot. You should my
I
voice
suppose.
wasn't always this deep. You should
singers
hear
and stuff as
what I
well.
did when I was 21, 20. I did some radio shows. my voice was so high pitched.
Because you were still a baby.
Exactly. It's completely different to how it is now, and that's just 10 years. So 20 years, and I use my voice every day for work as a journalist. It changes. It develops. It
Look,
adapts.
I'm not scrapping on them for not having the exact same actors,
neither am
but
I.
the fact that they put in the effort to get people who sounded so similar, like super dead on for some of the voices, I am like...
It's more a case that I saw a lot of
thankful.
people online complaining that they didn't bring the original cast back.
Me.
And it's not viable because you won't get that same level of energy that they had 20 years ago.
Fair enough.
Yeah. I mean, look, they had their time, and that was great. They did an amazing job.
And they created something that we will always remember.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. I still got those DVDs.
What they created was the benchmark for what the new people had to do. Like, they set the gold standard, and they should forever be proud of that.
So a voice actor for Sailor Mars in the new one, which Christina V, became a voice actor thanks to the Sailor Moon dub originally. So she is a big supporter of the original one. And that's what got her, and now she's like one of the biggest voice actors in the world today.
Now, we do have to kind of wrap up, but look, you can catch the Sailor Moon Eternal films because we have been chinwagging for quite a while.
We always do.
Movie 1 and 2 are both on Netflix worldwide.
Yeah.
They have 10 different dubs. We're only talking about the English dub so far, but there is a Japanese dub, there is a French, there is a German, there is a Spanish
French?
dub as well.
I want to watch a
French.
German one, actually.
Oh my God.
So there is a lot out there. I believe there is also a Mandarin dub. I'll need to confirm that because Netflix doesn't typically broadcast to
They are now,
China?
though.
Yeah, we'll find out. Basically, they have 10 languages.
Amazing.
They cover every language that would be broadcast on Crunchyroll, for instance.
Nice.
So now you have no excuse not to watch it.
What you watching?
They've got plenty of excuse if they don't like it. I mean, it's not going. That's the key thing. This is not going to be to everyone's taste. We still enjoyed it.
Oh, yeah.
But we definitely don't
Yeah.
think it's of the standard
would you give it out
Sailor
of
Moon
5?
should be.
Oh, if you're not a Sailor Moon fan, don't.
Look,
I wouldn't recommend
as
it.
a Sailor Moon fan and knowing the original Dark Circus arc, I'd give this an 8. But as an anime, I'd give it a 5.
Actually, I would probably do the same too.
Yeah, like knowing how poorly they adapted this story in the original, they've done a much better job of it and it's more streamlined. Sure, it's missing some heart, which is why it's not a 10.
That's it.
That's why I'd say an 8. But if you were looking at this just as an anime product, it's middling at best.
Yeah.
Yeah, I reckon even as a Sailor Moon fan, I would rate it maybe a 7 because yay, Sailor Moon, but also there was so many. It was so problematic.
I just don't even see
So
the
many
next
things
arc
in
being
there.
covered now, to be honest.
Look, I think they would have gotten enough money because they sold it to Netflix. Maybe they knew it wasn't that strong, and this was a way to get that get the money so they could
Hopefully.
Yeah,
continue.
like good on them.
Like, yeah.
And also good on Netflix for picking it up.
Yeah.
That's dope.
Hats off to Netflix.
Yeah. Alrighty, we will need to wrap up.
Kawaii-Fi Radio.
Well, that is where we're going to leave things for this episode. Thank you so much for listening. Next time, we are checking out Josie, the Tiger, and the Fish, which has just hit Australian cinemas. It is a big anime film by Bones Studios. It's billed as a youthful, romantic drama based on the 1985 short story by Japanese author Seiko Tanbe. And it's definitely a lot to look at. It's getting a lot of good reviews so far.
Yeah, I'm interested.
Okay.
I'm gonna drag you both to it.
Okay.
You're both going. If you have enjoyed what you've heard, hit that subscribe button and join us for future episodes. We also have a YouTube edition of this podcast and dedicated videos on our channel. You can find all the information in this episode's description. And let's ask you for things. If you'd like to support the channel, which
Please do.
We also have a Patreon you can subscribe to. We're not a monetized channel or anything like that.
Nope.
We share extra content over there, such as episode outtakes, video extras, and show updates. And if you can afford to support us, it would be greatly appreciated.
Yeah.
Otherwise, you can just join the Kawaii-Fi community. So head over to our social media channels for breaking anime news, memes, and videos. You can find us on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, Discord, the wireless.
The wireless.
Just find us wherever we
The
may
internet.
land. The internet. We
Google
are
us.
there. Emma, thank you.
Thank you.
Yay.
That was so much fun.
And it was really
Only once.
Only once.
No!
We'll see if you can coax me back in with
Card
something
Captors
else.
episode, let's go.
It'll be a Card Captor episode.
It will be. That is on
My
the
second
list.
lady love.
Yes,
Look,
mine too.
Card Captors was dope. And
I can't.
I
honestly.
forever have made pudding jokes because of Card Captors. forever. So, cheers,
We'll see
TDD.
you then for the Card Cannibals episode then.
Yes, I guess you will.
Or at conventions.
Oh, yeah, you'll see me hanging around. Come to a convention, I'm the one with pink hair.
Yeah, you were the only person who got a photo at the Tokyo Alley convention.
I know. And she wasn't even on stage, but she got on the photo.
Look, you've been listening to Kawaii-Fi Radio. Thank you so much for joining us. And until next time,
watch some anime!